Welcome to Mission Driven Founders, where passion meets purpose. If you're dreaming of starting your own business, whether it's in beauty, wellness, or beyond, you're in the right place. We are going behind the scenes with inspiring entrepreneurs who are not just building brands, but driving real change. So hit subscribe, tap the bell for updates, and stick around. This conversation could be the spark that ignites your journey. Today's interview dives into one of the hottest and fastest growing movements today: wellness real estate. We are bringing you a conversation with Amaya Genaro, Vice President of Community Services at Rancho Mission Viejo, one of the world's largest intentional wellness real estate developments and standout global case study featured in the Global Wellness Institute's Build Well to Live Well report. Amaya leads the creation of environments that foster ageless living, meaningful connection, and everyday well being. We'll explore how the ranch is redefining what it means to live well, from designing spaces that nurture health and happiness to building communities that thrive across generations. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about the future of wellness, the power of community, and the role of intentional design in shaping healthier, more connected living environments. Amaya, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wanda, thank you so much. It's really nice to be here.
We love your work and can't wait to hear all about it. And we are going to start with the beginning. Your leadership journey is really, truly inspiring. Can you take us back to the way beginning when everything started? What sparked your passion for community development? How did that lead you to your role at Rancho Mission Viejo?
Oh my gosh, it's such a great story, at least for me, because it's so personal. When I look back, it has to start with my childhood experiences, not knowing that those were really going to shape me in my career around connection and wellness and community. And so initially, I grew up in, if you call it, a blue zone lifestyle. Right? We didn't hear that term before, but I grew up in an intergenerational community of all different ages. I had a very deep spiritual foundation with my family, our church family. Those connections were kind of like my tribe, right? And we had a healthy living environment. My mom was kind of a nutrition health nut in the 70s. I didn't get to bring, ding dongs to school. It was, the healthy food. My mom was green before that became a sustainable thing. So all of that to me was like eating farm to table. We ate out of the garden. I never knew that it was ugly fruit. I just knew that it was, my dad would say, this is what it looks like and it tastes the best. And that's how it was. So that was part of just that healthy lifestyle growing up and connections. And then in my teen years, I was deeply inspired by the elderly. We worked and lived around a lot of them. They taught me about resilience, the joy of aging, and the power of community. And then I also saw those that were lonely and how they were missing that it was that loneliness was, that power of community was absent from their lives. So then after college, I didn't really have a clear path. It wasn't about, CPA or a doctor or anything like that. And so after a short stint in cytogenetics living in Orange County, I landed a job in property management. And it was a simple job listing saying like something like, seeking an organized, people-oriented, environment. I'm like, let me try it. So I started at Merit Property Management, which is now a First Service Residential. It's a large community management company throughout the US and Canada. And within about a year, they chose me to lead this large master plan community. And I didn't realize that it was owned and developed by the Moiso family, which was the second largest landowner in Orange County. So that began my journey. And that was the opportunity to work on their 4 of their communities. They've developed 5 since the late 80s. And I worked for them in community management. I worked for them as a consultant. And now I've come full circle and working with them in the development of their last 23,000 acres, which is Rancho Mission Viejo. So now I'm being able to create community and connections, um, through the communities that I've worked for with them. So that's kind of the beginning.
That's an amazing story. Can you imagine going back and thinking that ad for a job would lead to all this? Like living your dream, right?
It,
Because this
it
is how you were raised.
Yes, yes, it really was. It was truly, and I've always said it's been the one of the biggest blessings of my life. Yeah.
It's a beautiful story. And Rancho Mission Viejo is seen as a model for wellness living. Who is your ideal resident, and how does the ranch support their physical, mental, and social well being? How do you and your team cultivate personal, human centered connection across such a large community? Because it's huge.
Oh, it is. And I'm going to go back, if you don't mind, to a little bit of the ranch history, because I think the ranch history shares how we build communities and how we've gotten to where we are today. And all started in 1882. And it was between a handshake between a banker, James Flood, who got a whole lot of money in the Comstock Lode in California, and a butcher named Richard O'Neill Sr. And this man wanted to buy 200,000 acres in Orange County, South Orange County. It was most of the ranches in California. And he needed somebody to run the ag and to run the cattle. So James Flood said, "Hey, Richard O'Neill, would you, for sweat equity, do this for me, run my ranch, and I will give you half of the property?" In 25 years in sweat equity, he earned half of the ranch. Fast forward, he's managing the cattle, managing the land. 1942, the US Navy comes along and purchases a majority of that land. The land was between Saddleback and Oceanside in Southern California, 200,000 acres. And basically, they took that and the rest of the land was 52,000 acres. And that was under the O'Neill stewardship. So that land during the 60s, the 5 freeway came through, and they wanted to continue to hold on to that land and decided to build communities. So Tony Moiso's great grandmother, Amma Daisy, always had a saying, it was the culture of care. Take care of the land, and the land will take care of you. He wanted to ensure that land was not sold. So they started building communities. And through these communities became that culture of care. That land is our brand, and it's the preservation of open space. It's the balance of thoughtful design and also preservation of our agriculture heritage. So that became kind of that foundational mission, right, for how we build communities. And so the intentionality now of what we did here at Rancho Mission Viejo. So we started at Rancho Santa Margarita, and then with that, we learned a lot about how to engage residents. And so in Ladera, that became a very intentional community of building more amenities and being able to activate those amenities. And our secret sauce is really the community service organizations that we've put in place to help manage the lifestyle and the programming for these communities to actually activate them. So it's a little bit like a city where you have a Parks and Rec department and Public Works. The homeowners association owns the land, they maintain the buildings, the landscape, the clubhouses, and then our ranch life organization actually comes in, works with our residents, engages residents, and then activates with the lifestyle component. And that becomes how we continue to start building those healthy places. There's so much, I'm
So
not sure where to stop and where to start, right?
I love all of it. Like you can keep going. I'm sure everybody's curious to know everything behind the scenes, how it started, the history. I love especially the history because it is really beautiful. And can you imagine you don't have these opportunities nowadays
No,
to just own land like that with a handshake and with a deal like that. That was a good deal.
that's for sure. Yeah.
So how many people work at Rancho today?
Probably 100 employees. And we the vision of the company and how we work a lot with a lot of consultants and teams and leaders. So we outsource and work with, our architects and our land planners and those that, bring those higher level visionary components to our team, as well as, our internal team. I think we hire the best of the best, and we have great leaders within our company. And so that's part of, Tony's vision too, is how we treat one another. It's how we treat each other in our company, and our partners and those of our consultants are part of our team. We treat them as equals. We're all in this together. It's a village. It's actually building and creating these communities together. So that's part of what's kind of shaped the company. It's shaped me as a leader. I realized more than anything that from property management, it wasn't about managing properties or programs. It really became about creating environments where people can thrive and live and call these places home. So
And going back to the blue zone, and my family is from half from
it's,
India and half from Italy. So we know really that it takes a village to raise kids, to live a long, healthy life, because if you're alone, it's very hard to be healthy, right? It's not just eating the right foods, but it's also nourishing your emotional, your mind, and you can't do that without a community. So I love what you are doing. And I wish that every state in this country
yeah,
would be doing what you are doing. I know land is, it's scarce, but I think it's possible. I think people should really get together and create more communities like yours. And how many
yeah.
people live in Rancho
But
today?
yeah, we have probably about 13,000 residents so far. We're not quite halfway through development, probably about 35-40% through development. We have about 5,500 homes currently. And I think to your point, what makes it so unique, and one of the basic tenets of how this all came about when we had our entitlement, we obtained entitlement for the last 23,000 acres of that 52,000, right? Called Rancho Mission Viejo. And we had the ability to preserve 75% open space. So conservation and preservation of natural habitats, endangered species. And then also we could build up to 14,000 homes if we incorporated age qualified housing. So what we did is we have this beautiful open space that surrounds most of our villages. And then we have the intergenerational component that we had never done before in our other communities. And that was new and different. And that became really the new paradigm shift in the industry. And it became a paradigm in the country where others now are modeling some of this opportunity to bring people together with age qualified housing and market rate housing, and they share some of the amenities together, and then the age qualified have some of their own exclusive amenities. But yet day one, when we had our first event, the most beautiful thing happened when I went, because I've been to a lot of events over the years for all of our communities. I saw this whole age demographic like in front of my eyes, grandparents, their children, their grandchildren. Typically, it takes, and you know this in real estate, right? It takes a community like 20 years to get to that point, because a lot of new communities, new families, they're just having their families, they're starting their families. And to just see that day one was, it was just beautiful. Yeah. And it's just been exponentially growing like that ever since.
That is so important to have all ages. And I think older people learn so much from children,
Mhm.
children learn so much from older. I mean, just the mix of ages and cultures. I love that. I think that's beautiful what you are doing, and it's so meaningful and it's so important in today's world because people are getting lonelier, and having
Yes.
that community is really, really important. And so that goes to the next question. Ageless living is a powerful concept. So,
Mhm.
what goes into designing facilities, amenities, and programs that truly support whole person wellness for residents of all ages. And what challenges have you had to navigate to stay aligned with this mission? Because with so many families living in the community, I'm sure there's a lot of challenges. And I mean, it's people, it's, living, it's community. There's the pros and cons to everything, right? So tell us more details about the design, amenities, and any challenges that you've had.
So first of all, the first challenge was blending 55 plus housing with market rate housing. That because we were challenging industry norms. Many people told us it's not going to work. That's not what the baby boomer wants. And yet we knew that they might want something different. Let's offer something different. They have the large communities behind gates. Excuse me. They have different offerings, but in truly intergenerational community on the ground was something very new and different. So one that was challenging. And what we did early on, and it was really before wellness kind of was touted, right? We learned about wellness dimensions in about around 2004, 2007. And we brought thoughtful leaders together in certain areas of the dimensions of wellness, whether it's social, mental, physical, spiritual, environmental. And we had like a thought leadership illumination workshop. And we took the dimensions of wellness and we said, what does that mean to us here at the ranch, at Rancho Mission Viejo? And we kind of took it apart and said, what can we do with our brand, with our land, with what we have? And how do we build that thoughtful design for the people that were going to live here? And then we do a lot of research. You have to do research of the who's going to live here? What's the demographics? What are their psychographics, right? What do they want in their living environment? Who are we going to draw from? Are we drawing from across the nation? Are we drawing from within our 25-mile boundary? When you start to know all those things, the picture becomes clearer. And then we work with our architects. They have this saying, form follows function. We don't just come in and say, architect, build a clubhouse. We've got, we've got 55 plus and we've got some all age. And what do you think? We come in and we say, these are the types of programs our residents want. We know that because we've done the research. So we would like to offer A, B, C, and D. And if we offer those, these are the types of rooms that we would need in a building. These are the types of amenities, outdoor amenities we would need. And then we start to create from that foundational ground up. And it becomes something that's exciting and innovative and I think it hits the mark because you're really you're planning with intention. And you're planning for the ages that you're trying to bring here. And we had to really make sure. Our research told us that 55 plus wanted some of their own spaces for social. They wanted swimming on their own. They wanted their own pools. They wanted some of their own fitness. So we said, okay, we could give them that. But they were also in our research, they said, we're willing to share amenities. We want to be able to be there with our grandchildren. We don't want the grandkids in our pool, but we'll take them to the pool across the street. So that's what we did. And it just continued to blossom as we continue to do research along the way. And we get feedback from our residents who are living here. It continues to provide a real good basis for intentional planning.
The key word here, I believe, is intention. Everything that you're doing has so much intention and meaning and purpose. You're doing this, you're listening to your community, or you are building an offering. Because I think sometimes where developers make a mistake is that they develop before knowing their audience, knowing their community. Who am I going to serve, right? Because we're all serving someone. And if we don't know who we're serving, it's really difficult to create something that they will love and they will feel comfortable. And your intention, the word intention for me was like the key word of this whole answer. And I really admire what you're doing. I think it's a beautiful community. It's a beautiful project. And building a community of this magnitude comes with highs and lows, of course. So I know you shared a little bit of the challenges you had, but can you tell us
Mhm.
about particularly challenging moments in your work and how you navigated it and the key lesson it taught you as a leader and community strategist for you as a professional and also perhaps for the whole organization, right? For your whole company, the ranch.
I think there's a couple things. Sometimes you think you're doing things right, and you're not going to do everything right. You're going to make mistakes along the way. And sometimes those planning mistakes can be expensive. And maybe just a couple, and maybe this will answer your question, but dig deeper if you want. Uh, we built a 55 plus pool area. It was a small, wasn't with the clubhouse. It was just a pool area, and added some of the greenery and some of the different little outdoor area. We did not put a spa in. We just we thought we have a spa, the other large amenity, just a pool is fine. Those residents that were living next to that area just pounded the door of the developer of the HOA and said, we need a spa. So we had to get, and the spa has, the only place we could put it is in the far back corner, right? So what it takes to bring in those bulldozers and all that, but we did it. We went back in and we put in that spa for them because we knew it was the right thing to do. On the opposite end, we had an area, it was a beautiful green space, and we just had like some run, it was areas for the kids to run around. We did not put in a playground because we had a playground that we were going to be putting in another phase of the community. So we didn't feel we needed to duplicate. Well, those all-age residents came knocking at the door and said, we need a playground now. We can't wait 18 months, 2 years for that other amenity to be built. And we don't want to go that far. We want it right here. And there's a space right here. And we'd like you to build it. And so we went ahead and said, it's the right thing to do. We might have missed that. Maybe it is a little too far and it's a little too long for the next phase of construction. And so we went in and we put in that playground. So those are things from a clubhouse perspective and some of the amenities that we do. As far as learning, maybe in my leadership, it's really ask the questions, listen, and then act. We can't be all things to all people, but when people know that they're seen and they're heard, that has been a huge differentiator. And my role, and I was very fortunate with my role because my role as a liaison between the community management company and our development team to ensure that our vision is executed upon. And it was a unique position. So I would go to a lot of the events and activities, and I would meet and greet with the residents, and I would listen. And I would take my phone because I wasn't going to remember everything, but I would say, let me write that down and I will get back to you, or let me go ask the question. And I really think that just goes a long ways, that people feel that they're heard. And even if the answer is no, at least they know that you took the time. And I think that's just really important. And I've always felt that a big part of, really, servant leadership has always been at the heart of really all that I've done in my life and in community management and in my profession.
And that's why you're so successful at what you do, because you listen to your community, to your clients, the residents in the community. That's so important. And so how are the price ranges, and do people buy their houses? Do they rent their houses? Can they do both? How does it work?
Price ranges right now are probably at, I'm going to say, with what we're building right now, about 800,000 over $1 million. And they are basically homes that you purchase. They can rent them out. We also put in apartments We put in 55 plus apartments. We put in all age apartments. So we build those. We actually work with a company and build those. We have a life plan community also, which is for those that want to go to a community that has independent living, assisted living, and then memory care. So we have one of those currently on our project. We have another one that's going to be, so that one is for purchase. We have another one that's on the books right now that'll be a rental property that will be very similar for those that want to age in place. So we really have, and then we have entry-level homes. We just got done doing one of our phases, had a lot of attainable product. And again, attainable for Orange County, in Southern California, but we did have attainable product also for first-time buyers and those that were singles, maybe wanting their own smaller place. So it's really for all ages. Yeah. One of the things that we've done when you said about that we listen, we do a biannual survey every year of our residents, with our residents. We've done tech surveys, we do shuttle surveys, we do fitness surveys, but this one is a larger one that we do every other year. And we have 82% of our residents say that living at Rancho Mission Viejo supports their well-being. We have up to 90% say that the open space, the beauty, the serenity, sense of community, safety are all around the 89 to 92 percentile of responses. So that's really telling us something, right? That what we're doing is, again, with intent, but it's also meeting the needs and the desires of those that are living here. And so that's part of the listening that we have to do as well.
Exactly. And do you have other developers that contact you for guidance or like ideas? Because I'm sure people look at your community as an example of what they would like to build. And is that something
Yeah.
that happens? Have you ever been contacted or have you ever worked with other developers in other areas?
Yes, it's very vital. The development just industry through the Urban Land Institute, we're very much involved with that. A lot of the other developers are included, and we all share. We've always been very open about sharing our ideas. We get contacted a lot, and we do a lot of tours. We do a lot of individual tours for developers bringing their teams out here to learn about what we've done. Even from our land sales, how we work with our builders. Our builders are part of our family. They're our consultant team. Because we sell our land and the builders actually build the product and then they sell the homes. So we are selling land and then we put the lifestyle on the ground and all the infrastructure. So it's been a long time. And then we have done a lot of our own touring. So we go and see developers across the nation. We want to learn from them. And when we started doing the intentionality of 55 plus, Paul Johnson, our senior vice president at the time, he sent us on a year-long journey, about 3 of us, to go out and look at all of these communities and see what we can learn from them. So we're constantly learning from each other.
That's super. Have
Yeah.
you been to Tennessee?
We have been to Tennessee. I have
Oh,
one of our close friends that actually worked here, lives in Tennessee.
very
Yes.
cool. So I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's why I'm
Oh,
asking about Tennessee.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you visited developments here in Tennessee. Was it in Knoxville, Nashville?
We were in the Nashville area,
Okay.
and we did some of more of the agrihood and some of the farm
Uh-huh.
there because we have some smaller farms in agrihood here at the ranch. That was something we wanted to keep as part of our cultural heritage. So we have some communal farms that our residents can engage in, as well as the different events. We have the Nature Conservancy that we have here that offers different programming for our residents, from interpretive hikes and walks and astronomy nights and mud kitchen mornings for the little kids, and just all different things to learn about nature. And so all of those different components, we're learning about, and we see that through other developers around the country. And then again, taking what we have here and leveraging what we have. That's one of the things I'm involved in the GWI's Wellness Real Estate, Real Wellness Communities and Real Estate Initiative, and we talk about, taking a look at, it's not one size fits all. It's whatever type of product or project or community you're building, whether it's large or small. Take what you have, whether it's look at the culture, look at what the land offers. Is there something that's very different about that area, the demographics, and build and leverage that and make that your brand. And that becomes then the authenticity of that community. And if it's only one or two of the dimensions of wellness that you're looking at, and do it well, do it well. And residents will, that becomes the base for community, for connection, to combat the loneliness we've talked about, that healthy lifestyle, those social connections, all the things that really associate with well-being today and what we're looking at.
It's really essential. Community is essential, and what you're doing is very, very important for people all ages and for the environment as well. So the community farms or gardens, like, so every resident can participate in the community farms, or is that they can
Yes.
here to participate to get like a piece of land that can, or they can all farm together?
Yeah, so that's such a great question, because that was something we had to look at early on and say, what did we want to do with this, continuing this legacy? How do we do that? And in Ladera Ranch, we had the plots of land, like the 4x8s that each person would come and they would, pay a little money and maybe, till the ground and plant their garden. And we thought about that and said, well, we could do that, or we could do something different. And we decided to do communal gardening. And so we have 3 small farms. We put into our budget a professional farm team that we hired. That's the gal that I went to visit in Tennessee, Gloria Bromings, who actually helped us formulate this. We basically have the opportunity for residents to join the farm team, become a resident farmer, work at any of the farms. So one, it's the whole plot of land. So you get to grow all kinds of things. It's not just on your own 4x8. You can lock and leave. So whenever you want to go on vacation, it's still going to get watered. Somebody's going to maintain it. Our professional farm team is overseeing it. So it's always beautiful. We're always making sure there's good production. We have about 11,000 pounds of produce that are harvested every year. And our residents learn from them and they learn from each other. So they're connecting again with the land, and they're connecting with each other. And then it's that wellness factor, digging your hands in the dirt, learning just a simple story, seeing a mom at the farm when we were there. Her son, we were doing a carrot pull. He was 2 years old, and he went and he picked the carrot and he started eating the carrot. And she's like, oh my gosh, he's eating a vegetable. She had to call her husband on her cell phone. She was so excited to share that her son was eating like his first carrot, And it's just those stories. They're just beautiful. And just how it's impacting people's lives, and our kids are learning. I had one little child come show me the compost bins, and he walked me through how you compost. He's like 6 years old. So it's taking that, and it's learning from children. It's taking that essence of childhood and learning, and then growing up through with community of adults, and that's the older and the younger working together. It's very communal.
And it's priceless to see your kid picking a carrot and eating it straight from the ground. And I assume you don't use like chemical pesticides or
Yeah.
anything like that. So, I mean, you don't even have to really wash the carrot, because we are so concerned about, any poison, anything that's on our
Yeah.
vegetables nowadays. But if you have your own piece of land and you can farm and not use any pesticides, and, do all the regenerative farming. I always get
Mhm.
the names, and of the cross pollination. I love all of that. I'm sure that you learned
Yeah.
all of this in Tennessee as well, because
Yes.
we have great like farmlands and great communities also that have pieces of land for refugees and for people that come from all over the world. We have a lot of this in Knoxville, and I am passionate about the subject. It's another interview, but it's really, I love it's an outstanding work. What you're doing is really truly beautiful, and I'm almost moving there. I'm almost buying it for myself. I'm sold. So, one of the pillars of your approach is what we call the giving back chain. Here at Crunchy Mama Box, we use that term a lot because we believe that the giving back chain is when, you know, our community gets together to give back, each one in their own capacity, because not everybody can just do donations or just volunteering, but they're hands on giving back. And giving back seems intertwined with the spirit of the ranch. How does Rancho Mission Viejo contribute to the land, local ecosystems, and the surrounding Southern California community? Are there any partnerships or initiatives that you're especially proud to highlight?
Oh, I would love to. First, we have a lot of different programmers and partnerships in the community, but maybe just to highlight a few things. Let's go back to the farm really quickly. We usually glean about 10% of our donations, and we give that to the Mission Basilica from our farm produce. We also have joy bags that we put together that are given to that we bring to a community that is giving out with Wills of Meals. And it's usually like some tea, some different produce, and a little joy bag for them. We have our pickleball group that is explosive, that does 4 tournaments a year. And they raise money to give, whether it's Toys for Tots, to raise money for different philanthropies that they want to give back to. And they've raised probably about 30 grand to date over the last couple of years. We have a lot of them do, they'll gather food for the locals. We have our turkey trot that is actually coming up. This will be our 9th year that we've hosted our 10K, 5K, and 1K. And that proceeds from the turkey trot go to the nature reserve. And to date, I think it's about $250,000 that we've generated so far to go back to the nature reserve to help their public school programs. And those are programs that are not just locally, but even some schools 100 miles away will come to have their field trip for their students to learn about whether it's the indigenous people of the land, or to learn about the species and the native animals and the native plants and everything. So those are some of the areas that we give back. We have a lot that love to give back. And as a company, Tony Moiso is I'm going to probably get a little weepy here, but one of the most generous individuals that I know, not only for the company, what he does here, but for what they have done philanthropically. We used to have a rodeo for 20 years, led by Gilbert Aguirre here, and that raised almost $2 million and was given back to local charities. So there's always some philanthropy that is at the heart of not only the company, but of the community. So we're very proud of that.
It seems like the whole culture is of giving back to the community, and it's so impactful because you were able to create this beautiful culture, not just among people who work at the Rancho, but also with the residents, with the community surrounding. That is very special.
Yeah.
I just love it. So wellness real estate is shaping the future of how we live. How do you see initiatives like our CMB certification, which celebrates transparency, education, sustainability, and social impact, aligning with your vision for wellness communities? And as the industry grows, how do you see places like Rancho shaping the next generation of mindful, sustainable, and connected living?
That's a loaded question, Wanda. So let me go back to GWI. 85% of health outcomes are influenced by the built environment, which is huge. Water, mobility, access to healthy foods, social connections. So really designing those communities to combat the loneliness, encourage aging in place, fostering social cohesion, all of that is really strengthening not only the individual, but the community at large. I think we all as developers are working with governmental agencies. We're working with the water departments. We're working with the fire departments. Our OCFA, we have a wildfire resiliency plan. This wildfires are a big deal in California. You've got other things that are happening in Texas and Florida. So we really have to take a look at, all of those components to ensure that we're building not only, I don't want to say correctly, but ensuring that we are providing that safety net, for our residents. And with home building in California, we have very stringent building codes. So in a way, it's a kind of a good thing, because we are always looking at, solar and different ways. We do a lot of water conservation in the homes, and all the different things that really are kind of providing that wellness factor for living in that kind of that environment. Sleep is becoming a big thing. People want ring cameras for safety. All the different components that kind of go into that the building environment of the home for living.
You are building, shaping this for the next generation, because wellness real estate now is a hot topic, but I
Mhm.
think it's just going to become the norm. It's a lifestyle change that is happening not only with individuals, but like you said, communities. And you're leading the way with Rancho, but there are other developers, other communities that are looking to live the same way,
Mhm.
right?
Yes. And that's what we're hoping our GWI initiative also helps support, is really trying to encourage those, like I was saying before, take what you have and, figure out how to leverage that. You can do it in so many different ways. Even just some of the things that we've done as we lean into wellness, we have a beautiful clubhouse. It's called the Canyon House. It sits above 20 acres of open space and trails. We had the ability as a developer to infill that. If we infilled that canyon, we could have sold that land for a lot of money. But we chose to keep the natural surroundings because we wanted to incorporate and bring that natural beauty in. We do the same thing when we relocate hundreds of our oak trees. When we start grading our land, we go out and tag our oak trees that we know that we want to be able to put in key focal point areas of the community. Again, continuing that legacy of the land, that sustainability and that conservation of those beautiful trees. So there's a lot of different ways that we can encourage sustainable development and ensure that we're also meeting kind of that natural beauty and the wellness factor too. I think it all wraps up into one. It really does when you
I
do
do.
what's right.
And I do think you're very aligned with our certification, because we are all about community transparency. And I'm sure you have reports and you communicate really well with your residents and with, the shareholders, the stakeholders, and the education piece, the sustainability, the social impact. It's all so aligned with what
Mhm,
we're looking at today, when we certify a brand or
mhm,
a service or a product, because transparency is key. And you
mhm.
can't have education without transparency. And yes, you check all the boxes. So I love the project and love what you're doing. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing your inspiring journey and for all the work that you do to create a more sustainable and conscious world. You've shown us that businesses can truly be a force for good.
Oh, thank you so much, Wanda. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope somebody has been inspired by this. And do you mind if I share one last thing?
Of
Do
course,
we have time?
please share.
I want to because I think it's really something that has been kind of a legacy for us here at the ranch. Tony Moiso, as our chairman and CEO, wrote a ranch code, and it's 10 guiding tenets. And I think this can apply to your work, to your business, and to community. So I'm just going to read those if you don't mind. Take care of the land, neighbors helping neighbors, be hospitable to strangers, take care of business, take pride in your work, make your handshake your bond, act with courage, have a kind word ready. And the last two tenets, ride for the brand, and that could be your own brand image or your company, and have fun along the way. So always enjoy what you're doing and do it with joy. And I hope that inspires someone today.
That for sure will inspire so many people that listen to our podcast. And this interview is going to be also on YouTube and on all platforms, all podcast platforms. This was so emotional for me because this is like a dream come true for any mission driven founder. Any.
Oh,
And I know there's a lot of, you know, aspiring entrepreneurs that are listening to us. And I'm sure they're going to be full of ideas after this conversation.
that's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you
Thank you.
again. And to everyone watching, remember that every choice we make can shape the future. So let's choose wisely, live intentionally, and support those who are making a difference. So stay inspired, stay motivated, and let's keep building a brighter future together.